President Trump set to address the World Economic Forum in Davos, and this year the conversation is shifting. Instead of lectures about climate targets and net zero deadlines, the focus moving back to energy, economic power, and global security. From the race for critical minerals to the massive energy demands of artificial intelligence, the questions now are about growth, about Greenland, and about independence. Joining us this morning is former White House economic advisor Steve Moore. Steve, good morning to you. You saw the president just land there in Davos. A little behind schedule this morning, but we want to talk about the importance of Greenland. We know he's going to be discussing this. From an economic standpoint, how important is Greenland to America's future, and what happens, Steve? And what are the risks if the U.S. does not engage more aggressively?
Good morning, Jan. Well, listen, I'm an economist, not a national security guy, but there is so much, security implications to this. And Trump has basically been saying that we want to build that Golden Dome, a kind of missile defense system that would protect not just the United States from, say, Russia, China, or some rogue nation, but also Europe. So I really believe strategically it's in the best interest of all of Europe and the United States for the United States to have a bigger presence there. Whether or not that means actually Greenland becoming a territory of the United States, I don't know. I really believe, by the way, that the best solution to this is to let the people of Greenland themselves decide. You know, there's about 60,000 residents of that country, and I believe in self-determination. And I believe, by the way, that the Greenland natives would want to be a territory of the United States. But in terms of the economy, you're right to bring that up, Jan, because nobody's talking. I mean, they think about all the oil that they potentially have. They are probably as rich in critical minerals as any country on the planet, and the Arctic region is really important strategically. So we'll see how this turns out. There's a lot of resistance, as you know, from the Europeans.
Also, we just saw some video of a ship going through that area. It's the center of Arctic shipping lanes, is it not?
That is true. And when you think about it, I'm going to give you a little history lesson here, Jan. You've probably heard of, if you remember your American history, Seward's Folly. And Seward's Folly, of course, happened in the late 1860s when Secretary of State Seward bought Alaska. And you know how much we paid for Alaska?
Yeah.
$7 million.
Yeah.
And it
became
one of the greatest. And now it's worth, obviously trillions of dollars. So this sort of makes sense geopolitically. We'll see how this turns out. But as I said, the Europeans are very resistant to this. And it's going to be a major topic in Trump's speech that I think he's going to start speaking very, very soon.
Yeah. And hopefully you can stay with us and listen with us to his speech. I want to talk about one of the big shifts we're hearing about in Davos, and that's less talk about climate ideology and more about energy reality. Countries realizing you can't run a modern economy or compete with China without abundant, reliable power. How important is energy independence to U.S. economic strength, security, and do you think Davos is finally waking up to that?
Well, Jan, you asked maybe the wrong question, because of course you're right that the United States needs to be energy independent, and we are. Basically, we're producing more oil and gas than any other time in our history, and that's one of the reasons gas prices are falling so much. But the people who need to strive for energy independence are the Europeans, and they made a huge mistake. They made a miscalculation on green energy. It didn't work. Germany deindustrialized. A lot of the countries were paying through the roof for energy, and they became dependent on Russia and other countries. And so I think one of the things Trump will say this morning when he speaks is, hey, follow our lead. Use all of your energy resources. The Europeans should be building nuclear plants. We should be too. We don't want to be reliant on the Middle East and other countries for our energy source.
So when we see these artificial intelligence exploding right now, that also means energy demand, data centers, supercomputers, AI models. They require massive amounts of electricity, as we know. So are we heading for an energy crunch if we do not expand production? And should the U.S. be leading with more nuclear, more natural gas?
Well, Jan, you make a really important economic point, which is that when I look at the U.S. economy, which is doing very well right now, the one vulnerability I see, both from a security standpoint and economic standpoint, is our grid system, our electric power grid system, which is very vulnerable. We saw, I don't know if you saw last week, Verizon had some problems
Yeah.
with their and people couldn't use their cell phone. I couldn't use my cable TV, and it was so imagine that happening over and over again. So we absolutely have to make our grid system more reliable. And you are exactly right, my friend, that artificial intelligence, robotics, all of these new kind of technologies are going to. Are you ready for this, Jen? They're going to increase our energy and electricity demand by threefold over the
Wow.
next 15 or 20 years.
Wow.
We've got to get ready for that.
Yeah. So, and also, I want to get back to what you said too regarding the economy. What are you hearing about the latest GDP numbers for the fourth quarter? You know, 1 year after Trump began those hard discussions and negotiations for tariffs, fair trade, and bringing manufacturing back home to the U.S. What's the message to global markets? And can the U.S. protect its industrial base without destabilizing the global economy?
Well, kind of the irony here, I was just thinking about this, Jan, that when you and I were talking almost exactly a year ago, remember all the economists were saying, oh my gosh, we're going to have, with Trump elected, we're going to have a second Great Depression, the stock market's going to crash, we're going to have any economic growth. Well, it's just been exactly the opposite. So what you've had is we had 3% growth in the second quarter, we had 4% growth in the third quarter. How about this? 5% growth is the latest estimate
Wow,
for what we had in the fourth quarter, which is a blockbuster number.
that
So
is.
all of the economists were wrong. What Trump is doing has really been working in terms of making, and this is his main point in Davos, is look at what we've done in the United States. We're the fastest growing country in the world. Maybe you should be doing what we're doing and move away from socialism.
It's encouraging. And he's about to speak, by the way. Steve, I got to take a quick break. I hope you can stick around with us because coming out of that break, we're going to listen to him speak. Thank you.